If you keep relapsing and you think you're weak, then this video is just for you. I know exactly how you feel. You've tried to use all of your willpower to stop yourself from gooning, but it just hasn't worked. You've seemingly tried everything under the sun: site blockers, not using your phone, setting up app restrictions, but even then, nothing's really worked. I understand how it happens. You're just on TikTok scrolling, watching video after video after video, and then all of a sudden you see something that catches your eye. After you see that thing, your brain just gets switched on. You end up going onto Safari, turning on private browsing mode, putting a VPN on, and then going onto those sites that you know you shouldn't be going on. You go onto those sites, you spend a few minutes watching a video, you let one out, and then by the end you're just left defeated. And it's the same scenario every single time. You somehow stumbled across something, and before you know it, you've just depleted all of your energy. I know exactly how you feel after. You feel a deep sense of shame and guilt, and you just feel like you shouldn't have done that. At the same time, you don't really understand how it's happened, but now you just have to clean yourself up and sort things out. Here's what you need to understand. The willpower you have and the constraint you have for yourself is fairly limited. Your willpower is finite, and no matter how many times you tell yourself that you won't do it, you're gonna end up doing so. At the start of the day, you tell yourself you're gonna go through the day without gooning, and before you know it, you just end up relapsing. Also, trying to force yourself to not do it and trying to force yourself to not visit those sites is the easiest way to burn out. It just doesn't work, and by the end, you'll just be feeling exhausted. You keep losing this battle of not gooning because you're just overstimulated. You have to see leading up to what ends up happening as there being walls in between. So essentially there's defensive walls between you ending up losing your streak and relapsing. When you scroll and you eat junk food and you do all the bad habits that just lower dopamine, you're basically just knocking down each wall to the point where when you end up relapsing, it is so easy because there's quite literally just one wall left. When you weaken yourself and you do some bad habits before you end up relapsing, it is so easy to just end the streak because your brain and your autonomic nervous system has pretty much lowered its level of constraint. The environment you're in is also just stacked against you. Like, for example, most guys have easy access to a phone. Most guys have easy access to you know what I'm talking about, those sites. And most guys have easy access to just privacy. So for example, if you're in your room at night alone, everyone's just not there, and you're just by yourself, it's so easy for you to just end up relapsing and letting one out. And once you finish, right, there's not really any immediate punishment. It's not like someone comes along and whips you for doing it, right? You don't get any immediate punishment. The worst punishment that you get is the internal guilt, shame, and sometimes people's parents subtly know what they're doing in their rooms, but they just never say anything, and you kind of just live with that for years. You keep losing because you just make it harder for yourself than it needs to be. Most guys make it harder for themselves than they need to be because all they do is they say to themselves that they're not going to do it, and then they end up not following through because they just don't. Instead of trying harder to not goon, right, even though it sounds funny, what you need to do is you need to do this one thing. What you really need to do is you need to reduce your triggers. Right now, you're probably sitting in a really accessible environment where you can just goon. If you're watching this in your room, you could literally goon right now, but pause. But on a real note, you need to just reduce your triggers. Whenever you're in your room by yourself at night, I know so many guys end up falling victim there. When you have so much free time and you have a pocket of empty time, that's when people goon. So you just need to find a time where you can just actually focus on something and not be distracted by your phone or anything else. If you're someone who is really addicted to porn and gooning, then what I'd recommend you to do is, I made a video previously about this, but you need to just stop using your phone 1 hour before bed. There also might be a short on my channel somewhere, so if you can find it, that'd be great. But just stop using your phone 1 hour before bed. And what I've noticed most people saying, they cope by saying this, and they say that I'm gonna goon because it helps me fall asleep. And I'm just does it really? It just doesn't, you're just coping. So if you try not to use your phone 1 hour before bed, not only will your sleep be amazing, but you'll basically have just less temptation to just let one out. And I know some guys, some crazy guys end up gooning in the morning, so if that's the same case, just don't use your phone in the first hour. And here's what's super interesting, right? Most of the problems with gooning and porn disappear when your phone isn't on you and you're not on any devices. How interesting is that? So maybe the action step might be to just stop using your phone as much. So from this, you need to learn that you don't need to try harder to stop yourself. What you need to do is you need systems in place and you need structure to basically survive. You need to reduce the triggers and you need to set up systems so that you end up doing something productive and not something destructive. It's not about becoming stronger, it's about becoming smarter and more intelligent. So the one action which I think is the best thing, and it's something that I explain to all guys about how important this is, but you need to change your routine. If you keep living the way you are and you keep doing the same stuff every day, you come back home from school, you have like 30 minutes where you just do nothing and you doom scroll, you're not really going to be able to change anything. It's so simple, just change your routine. Change what you do at certain times. If you fall victim to like gooning at night, then maybe you need to change your evening routine. And here's something that's interesting, is that most people end up relapsing at the same time every day. It's always in the evening when you haven't got anything to worry about, or it's even in the mornings when people are just like, got morning wood and stuff. You need to just figure out when it is for you and what you can do to move away from it. If you have an exact time which you goon, which I know sounds funny, you need to change what you do at that time. So if it's in the evenings, you need to just replace that evening routine with maybe just doing some reading, by just relaxing, by winding down, and just preparing your body for sleep. Watching porn and watching all this high intense content isn't going to help you sleep, and that's immediate in itself. It's not going to help you sleep. So it just doesn't help when you really think about the longitudinal effects of what you're doing, and you're setting up yourself for failure for the next day as well, because you're going to wake up sleep deprived and you're not really going to be happy with yourself. The best piece of advice I'd recommend, and this is something I do, is try and establish an evening routine with no screens. I know that sounds extreme, but trust me, the peace you feel is just absolutely amazing. Try and set up an evening routine where you just don't use any screens, you read, you relax, you journal, you kind of prepare your body to like go to sleep. And when you do that, your life's gonna change. And if you do this for just 7 days, right? Just 7 days, no screens before bed, you're just relaxing, you're winding down, you're breathing, and you're just having like a relaxing experience, then your life's just gonna change so much. And I want that for you. Before I end, I want you to know that I'm in this journey with you. No one's perfect. Even I slip up a few times here and there. But what I'm doing is I'm supporting you as we go along this together. The most important thing to do is you need to stay consistent as much as possible. And if you fall, it's fine. Just dust yourself off and get back up. I'm documenting my journey, and you subscribing means everything. Also, if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate if you can like and subscribe, because that way you get immediate access to any new piece of content that I release. If you're struggling with things like procrastination and things like scrolling, I've made 2 previous videos which I'm going to throw up on screen. You can find them on my channel, but make sure you go and watch them. But as always strive for excellence, because great things will come your way.